Hello, everyone. How are you today? Can I ask a question? How many of you are making games? Can you raise your hands? Because we had a bet last night. Okay, it's almost half. Good. This presentation hopefully has something for you in there, depending on where you are. My name is Karl Magnus Troedsen, and I'm here today to share some thoughts on what it means to be an aspiring game developer today, and also talk a little bit about what Raw Fury is and what we've been doing so far. I've been working in the industry for about 18 years, and the thing that keeps me very passionate about making games is actually what games are. It's a very unique form of entertainment, in my opinion, because of the interactivity, etc. But it's not only that, it's also compared to a lot of the other forms of entertainment, it's much more faster development, and there's also so much more runway to go. Just listening to everyone talking about VR here, we've heard talks about how we better understand the human mind today. The sky's the limit for games as a form of entertainment, and that's something I'm super passionate about. Making games is also extremely hard. Making and shipping and publishing, everything is pretty hard about shipping this kind of entertainment. And that's also one of the things I've always liked, because easy things are not fun, right? Thirdly, we have also a unique proposition with the fact that these kind of madly dedicated and lean forward kind of communities of players that we have out there that actually are available to us as creators of entertainment almost in real time. And that's pretty unique for us as well. And of course, perhaps contradicting a little bit what some people outside of the industry might say, games is a very, very social form of entertainment. And these four things are basically what I'm passionate about in games. So about 2 years ago, I started thinking about maybe how my experience could be better applied to aspiring new developers that want to start a new company or something like that. And the idea actually came to me when I was engaged myself as a mentor and a sponsor in the Swedish game accelerator Stugan that Jana talked about yesterday. I think Jana is here somewhere. There you go. Great talk yesterday. Did you see it? Yes. Okay, good. I don't have to explain it then. So when I visited Stugan, that was, as Jana mentioned yesterday, I walked away like super pumped about the whole thing, about making games again. And it was like a rekindled kind of passion for working with smaller teams, more nimble productions, teams where basically you could fit everyone in a room. So that was actually the trigger for me that decided that I want to go do something else. And the result was that I left my current job, and then I started working with my old friends at Raw Fury, actually. So Gordon was here last year, shortly after the company was announced. It was formed at the beginning of 2015, so it's only been around for a while. But I'll give you guys a quick recap, actually. Some call Raw Fury an indie publisher. Some of you would go, duh, isn't that a contradiction in terms? I actually prefer the term like a micro-publisher. Basically, we're a small company that help publish other small companies' games. We do this by really looking at forming strong partnerships with the developers out there. It's really important for us that these are partnerships that are built on equality, and I'll get to this a little bit further ahead. We also always say that Raw Fury is a for happiness company. So it means that we've been doing this for quite some time at different companies in different forms, all 5 of us at Raw Fury. But the main driver for running this company is not because to make money or these kind of things. It's actually for being happy. It's a passion project. And we're also looking for other developers that feel the same about what they're doing. Naturally, there's some thought behind it, because happy people have a tendency to do a really good job, and hopefully that can lead to other good things in the background. Raw Fury was also formed behind the idea a little bit to challenge the old, historically established way that the person or the company with the money have always had like a top-down approach to the actual creators of the form of entertainment. We want to challenge that a little bit. Why does it have to be like that? Raw Fury is not about bossing around the developers that we work with. It's much more this kind of close partnership where we actually more like work together like one cell, but 2 different companies. And of course, as any kind of publisher, we also help with the go-to-market, the finding the players, marketing, PR, all this kind of stuff as well. And we do have a called-out specific focus on the Nordic region, where we want to work with developers from there. But as anything in a small company, you don't have defined processes, etc. So this is more of a guide for us. Actually, we just signed a game from a team down in South America, but that's not official yet. So how do we go about doing this then? Well, we do this by really focusing on forming relationships with the developer we want to work with. And this is, that's a big word perhaps, relationships, I don't know. But it actually boils down to some core values founded on things like trust, respect, openness, not having any secrets. And when you start thinking about it from that perspective, it actually comes down to a very human level of who are the persons you actually want to work with, both from our side, but also from the developer side. Naturally, in a similar way as most publishers do, we fund the development of the games, of the people that we work with. But what might be a little bit different is the way that we look at risk. We want to share the risk with our developers that we work with. And how we do that? Well, one of the most typical things is by the actual contracts. As an example, we don't do advance on royalties when it comes to when the revenue starts coming in. Instead, we make sure that we recoup all the costs we've had on the project, and then we start making money at the same time as the developer. And for those of you who have negotiated contracts, you probably know what I'm after here. But it's a good thing for the developer, and it's also a good thing from our perspective, because we share the risk together with them, and we are more motivated on what we're doing. As I mentioned, all 5 of us in Raw Fury, we've been working in different parts of the industry for a long period of time, so we also know how both valuable, good input can be if it's timely delivered in the process of making a game, but also how disruptive it can be if it's poorly packaged input and also coming very late in the cycle, as an example. So we try to really take good care of making sure that the input that we have to the developers makes sense. And then, of course, we're working with pretty young developers, young companies, and basically anything goes. Whatever they need help with, that's what we're there to do. So what have we done? Well, in October last year, we launched our first game called Kingdom. It was a great success. It was made by 2 guys called Noyo or Licorice, or called that, I should say. The game was a great success immediately when it came out. It funded itself in the first 24 hours, so it was a great success for us immediately. We just recently released, one could call it a DLC to this game, called Kingdom New Lands. It was also our first Xbox One game that we actually did together. We helped the developer with the contacts with Microsoft and the certification, etc. And what might be interesting to some of you in the audience who are interested in price points and these kind of things is that we tried something new. We really didn't want to segment the community. So everyone who bought the first game, basically the base game, they got this DLC for free, just on top of it, even though it was a standalone game. But the kicker was that then we actually took that bundle and we raised the price, and so the people that bought it new actually paid a little bit more for it. This has turned out to be really, really good for us. We have happy players that bought the first game, we have happy players that bought the second one, and everyone is happy. So this has really worked out well for us. We are currently now looking into making a mobile version of this game because the actual interface will translate very well over to touch device, have we noticed. The second game that we released is a game called Cathy Rain from Clifftop Games. And very early on when this contract was signed, Raw Fury and the guys at Clifftop really knew that this was not going to be the same kind of instant financial success as a game as Kingdom. Why is that? Well, the point-and-click adventure genre or sub-genre, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty niched, right? But we also know that it has a long tail when it comes to how long these games actually sell. We know that the game is trending really well. People like it, good reviews on Steam and so forth. And eventually, this game is going to turn a profit for the developers and a developer and us. But a strange situation appears when you have a game like this. Jonas, our CEO, sometimes calls the valley of death, I think, where companies go to die. Basically, what happens for a company that the sole revenue stream is the one game that they have released, but the revenue stream just doesn't happen? Well, that can be the collapse of their company. So we did something that some people might think that we're crazy for doing, but we actually think it's the right way, aligned with our core values of the company, and we decided to continue funding the developer for another 12 months. Basically, just making sure that he has cash so he can continue taking care of his company and continue working on other things. He's making a mobile version of this, but except for that, there's no string attached whatsoever to what he does within that time that we actually are funding. It speaks a little bit to what kind of company it is that we're trying to form. Naturally, we can't do this with every developer, but this was a situation that we knew of already from the beginning. We have a new game coming up from a studio called Art in Heart. This is a game that is chugging a little bit. That is very close to me and close to my heart, because the main developer behind this, Ditto, was actually attending the first year of the Game Accelerator Stugan that we talked about. So seeing somebody, he was working on another game at the time, and that never was finished. But seeing somebody come from that environment, then moving to another incubator inside of Sweden, and then starting to working with Raw Fury, etc., and now being so close, the game comes out on October 12th. So literally, we released the pre-orders here 2 days ago, actually from the glacier we were visiting here in Iceland. It's super cool. We're super excited for it, and we hope that people are going to like the game as well. We have also announced a fourth game called Tormentor X Punisher from some pretty famous indie developers, listed down there in the corner. This is a game that we haven't talked much about, it's just announced, but I can say this much, it's pretty different from all the other games that we have released. There is a lot of violence, blood, and spectacular ways to kill strange demons with. And as I mentioned before, we've also signed a mobile first game, actually, as our first, that is coming out of South America, but nothing on that just yet. You have to wait and stay tuned. So doing this, like I described, it's a for fun kind of company. We have these core values. How do you measure something like that? You can always feel in your heart yourself, like, am I doing the right things? I feel that. But almost the best thing you can see is when you get something like this. This is a tweet from Ditto, the developer on Goner, and he sent it out just a couple of days ago. I don't know exactly the date. And no, I didn't ask him to send it so I can use it in the PowerPoint. It actually was very spontaneous. It is super cool to work with developers where you feel that these partnerships have gelled so well that you've come to this state. So Ditto, if you're watching this, we love you too, man. So that was a little bit of a shameless plug regarding what we're doing at Raw Fury, but there's also a little bit of a setup what I want to talk to you guys about. Basically what it means to be an aspiring game developer today and what you think of. And the first thing I wanted to bring up is a little bit that you need to know yourself and your motivations when you're an aspiring game developer. So what does it actually mean to be independent today, or be indie? Some would say, well, of course, it means being independent, duh. But I actually think that it's much more to this. There's a lot of preconceptions and outside factors that actually are playing in here. Does it actually matter what your budget is? Can that affect whether or not you're indie or not? I don't believe in these kind of labelings like indie or AAA. I actually think, I understand that it's good to get a label because you feel that I belong to something. I feel like I'm part of something. But if this labeling, as I call it, ever get in the way of you making the right decision for your company, for your team, for your game, then I would strongly say that you need to throw that away and stop listening to other people and how they want to define you. I mean, and the flip side is basically, if you're a AAA developer, no, we're going to be a AAA developer, you use that label instead. Well, then immediately everyone thinks, well, then it needs to be $60, you need at least 2 sequels in the pipeline planned and ready to go, because otherwise the established machinery around marketing and publishing AAA games is actually going to be a little bit suspicious. I mean, you can try making a AAA game and selling it for $40, and you'll see what kind of reactions you'll get. So know your motivations and disregard what other people and how they want to label you. That's what I want to say there. But I want to talk to you guys about actually 2 things, what I actually think is most important when it comes to how you think about your studio and what it is that when you do. And naturally, it has to be, how do you get your games funded, and how do you get it into the hands of the player? We meet a lot of developers, etc. Some people have thought this through, some people have not. And sometimes there needs to be a little bit more thought behind this, actually, from people before they hand in the pitch. Some people come to us and say, no, we just need the funding, then we'll be, we're fine, go away, we'll figure everything else out. But I would actually inspire these developers that think that way to go a little bit deeper. Because just because you have a pile of cash that makes that you can fund the development, you still need to figure out a way then to do all the other work. Working with the business partners, platform holders, certification, localization, QA, all these kind of things, you then have to make sure that you hire people in your company or pay somebody else to do. We have other people that come to us and say, you know what, publishing, no thank you, but you know what, you got great PR and marketing, we would love to use that. Well, I would, in that case, advise a little bit against it, because that kind of work for hire muscle that you just bring in, are they going to be as motivated as somebody that is invested in your game as a publisher or a funder or something like that? I would say no. As a company, Raw Fury, we always say no to these kind of deals. As I said, we want to share the risk and we want skin in the game. But the good thing is, like, once you've figured these things out, for you guys that are developers today, the options you have for finding a business partner is plentiful. There's so many different things you can choose. And some of them actually means just doing everything yourself, all the way to the more classical ways of finding a VC or an angel or something like that. I would say that the games industry has really grown up a lot over the last year, so there's much more options than it was here before. But before you get to this place and actually start looking at this list, there's two things you should ask yourself, and I need to go fast because I'm out of time here. What do you actually need help with? You need to think about what is it that you want to spend your time on. Is it actually making the game, or do you want to be on the floor at Gamescom all sweaty with a screwdriver putting together the furniture for demoing your game? Is it optimizing the game code, or is it managing the community that you have out there? I'm not saying that either one of those are wrong. There are definitely people that can do everything, but you have to make sure that there's a cost involved in doing everything yourself, in the same way as there's a cost of having somebody else do it for you. So once you've decided upon this, what is it that you want to do and what is it that you maybe then want to have somebody else to do, you need to find the right business partner. And to keep this very short, you can be very, very certain of that once you start looking for a business partner, that they're going to do a proper due diligence on who you are, your game, your teammates, and these kind of things. Now here's the tip I have for you. Reverse that evaluation. Do the same about the business partner that is about to, in whatever shape or form, invest in your company. Reverse the equation and actually do the same evaluation on them as well. So trying to sum this up, since I'm out of time, being independent today does not mean that you have to go at this alone, in my opinion. The only thing that it actually does mean is that you have to choose the right kind of business partner that actually suits what you want to do with your game or your company. And if you can, depending a little bit on how strong your pitch is, perhaps, be very, very picky about what kind of partner you sign up. And make sure that you understand what their motives are, what do they want to do, what are their exit strategy. And even on a basic level, do you gel with these people on a human level? Because I can guarantee you're going to be spending a lot of time working with them. And it's not easy making games or publishing games, so you really need to figure that out. As I said, reverse the evaluation, make sure you know who they are. And focus on your strengths. And if you have the possibility and want to, get somebody in to do the rest. That's it. Thank you.